Oi, Marky here, and today we're going to be doing Final Fantasy VII Remake review. Uh, as you could probably tell by the title, probably, unless I call it something stupid, but besides that, this part was pointless. Shut up, I'm trying, don't hurt me. I know the review was a little late, but I kinda got a little sidetracked because I was off PS4 for like a week. Also didn't play for a long time because I just didn't feel like it, even though I probably should have because this game is amazing. But anyway, let's get back on track. So, I'm doing this by like a point system. I have 7 points. I'm gonna rate them out of 10, and then I'm gonna divide it by 7 so I get an overall score at the end. Now for the first point, we have the story. How engaged was I in Final Fantasy VII Remake's story? Now, it's really, really engaging because there's a lot of parts in the story where I didn't know what was going to happen. It's also quite confusing the first go through. Like, my friend explained a lot to me, which was very helpful. His link to his channel will be in the description. Thank you, Curry, I love you. The story really grabs a hold of your attention. Like, there's so much stuff going on in the cutscenes, which are amazing. You never really feel like you're doing something for no reason. Like, you're always doing something for some sort of reason. It's gonna move the story forward without leaving you like, well, what was the point? Why did I do this? So out of 10 on the story, I think I'd probably give it an 8, only because you are left very confused a lot of the time, unless you pay very close attention. Like, when I'm playing this game, I was talking to people in the party, so when I'm trying to pay attention to this, I see, like, these flashbacks, I see these ghost things floating everywhere, like, Cloud is freaking out, and it's really confusing sometimes. So the next point I'm going to talk about is the maps and the chapters. Like, are they super linear? Are they, like, do you feel like you can walk around and do whatever? Which I think is a yes, to the point where you can walk around and do whatever, because in one of my streams, well, I mean, you didn't have to watch the streams, but whatever. One of my streams I was straight up lost forever. I was walking around trying to do all these chocobo side quests. I was so confused, walking everywhere back and forth all over the place. And it is really only linear in the smaller chapters, but in the larger chapters, it is quite diverse. In fact, I think a lot of the maps are so big and diverse that I feel like you can miss out on things really easily, as my friend did point out to me that I missed out on a couple things. So out of 10 on this point, I think I'm also going to give an 8 because there are some chapters that feel kind of linear, but the maps that aren't very linear at all just kind of carry it up so hard that I think it belongs on an 8. Now the next point, man. The characters? Oh my god. The characters are so good in this game. The characters are so different and unique, and they have like their own different stuff that they do. Like, Barrett can be your mega tanky dude. He could be I'm gonna punch you, Mega Man. You got Cloud, who'd be like big sword, or he can be like I do the Magic Man. Or you got Tifa, that it could be Magical Girl, could be I'm gonna punch you so hard that you wish that you were never born. And you have Aerith, which you could be like Black Mage, you could have Medic. I think you could go for just like straight big boy punch with magic. I don't think you can go for melee with her, though. I'm not exactly sure about that, though. But also the character development in this game is insane. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the way that it goes through and like the surprises you get with these characters and the story, it's phenomenal. Overall on this point, I think I'm going to give it a 9, only because Cloud's character development feels almost non-existent. but it does exist, so it's still gonna be pretty high up there. The next point we're going into is about the stats and the customization of your characters. Now this is crazy. In this game, you can have your stats, they're not like you can put them into anything, but you have these boards that you can go through and select what stats you want. Like, I want magic attack, I want basic attack, I want another materia slot so I can use more abilities. And you can go through and select whatever you want. You can be like, I want magic. You could just shove everything into everything that says magic on it in cloud, and then you just got a magical cloud. Or you could go shove everything into defense, so that way you can have a defensive Barret. Also, like the customization for how you want to play, there are different weapons you can unlock throughout the game. You can have ranged Barret, which I prefer, but you can have melee Barret, like he just has a hook, or like a ball on the end of his fist, on his middle arm, where you can just be like, I'm gonna punch you. Or you also you could have a magical Tifa if you wanted to. Like, there's so much customization in this game, I love it. So overall, for the points out of 10, I think I'm gonna have to give this a 10. It's just so great in this game. I know it's not a just shove points into whatever, but I think it's better this way, because if people could just shove points into the specific stats, people would just find one way that's the best, and then their characters would just be maxed out in that sort of stat, or however. Now, next point we're talking about is the battle system, which is great. I love the strategy-based hack and slash aspect of this game. It is super fun. Also, it's pretty difficult, even on normal mode. But I do have to point out that I did a big stupid, and kinda went through part of the game without upgrading any of my weapons. So that made it feel like it was a lot harder than it actually was, but it's whatever. But the way that your limits charge, it's not just, oh, I'm just gonna sit here and wait for my limit. You gotta actually, like, play. You can't just kind of sit there and tap 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 the square button. You gotta know what you're doing. There's certain stuff that makes it where your limit goes up faster. And then you have your summon gauge that you can use with all of the different things that it's good at. Like, it can be better at staggering opponents. It could just do a ton of damage. It could have no elemental attributes, so if something's resistant to everything, you have something for that. Also, the summons. They look awesome, by the way. The way you get summons is side quest, by the way. But the summons are so useful, and they're a great mechanic. They come at a super good time as well, because they usually come in later in the fight, so you don't just be like, oh, got a summon, gonna use it. But yeah, out of 10, I'm probably gonna have to give the battle system another 10, just because of how amazing it is. Now next, we're talking about the graphics. The graphics in this game is beyond great, but it's been in development, well, for a long time, so I wouldn't expect less. Like, this game, it looks so good. And the cutscenes, basically all of them are amazing. Like, there's a couple of them where you're just standing and talking to each other, but they're still moving around. They're not just stand still and talk and blink at you. They're actually, like, moving around or doing gestures. They might be walking around, and the cutscenes where they don't look as high budget as the other ones, they still look great, which is amazing about this game. So out of 10, I think I'm gonna give the cutscenes a 9 out of 10. Just because there are those cutscenes where they just kind of in-game engine cutscenes, you know what I'm talking about? Not the, like, ones that look like straight movie stuff, but you know what I'm talking about. Now we're on to the final point, which is the bosses in this game, which are pretty good, actually. You'd think it'd be like, it's just something that hits hard and takes long to kill, but All of these bosses have their own gimmicks, they have their own way you have to kill them. They have all these things you have to do. Like, there are some bosses that are super weak to getting parried, there's these bosses that are super weak to specific magic, there's these bosses that change what magic they're weak to, and you gotta figure it out using assess or just kind of look at them and be like, oh, he's probably weak to this. Big Pokemon, big brain. And a lot of these bosses, you can do whatever kind of strategy you feel like. It's not like these bosses are only killed by this one strategy. You could beat them, at least most of them, with whatever you want. Some of them, of course, you have to do their certain gimmick to be able to actually damage them, like it'll just straight up say immune. But a lot of them, you can do whatever you want. If you can be like, oh, I don't want to cast magic, you can just run up with Cloud and be like, slap, slap, slap for 10 years, and you'll probably end up winning. And when I tell you, in this game, no two bosses are the same. Because, like, you could have a boss that be like, I'm gonna teleport everywhere. You could have this boss that just be like, I'm gonna pop out of existence for a little while. You could have this boss to where they'd be like, oh, I'm gonna stay on top of you at all times. You could have a boss and be like, I'm gonna stay far away at all times. You have these bosses that'll be like, oh, I'm dying, hit you with the Omega Maximum Overdrive. Or there's just some bosses that straight up self-destruct when you kill them. There's all types of these mechanics, and all the bosses are so unique from one another. So overall, for these bosses, I think I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10, because early on, these bosses aren't super unique. Well, they are, but they're not very strong. Like, you could just figure out their weakness and then just kind of spam it, and they're kind of a pushover. But near the end of the game, they basically feel like normal enemies. Like you're fighting these old bosses that you used to fight one of, but you're fighting like 3 of them, and then there'll be another round with another one of those bosses you fought before. So overall, the story was great, the maps were great, the characters were great, the customization of your weapons and the stats you could put into them were great. The graphics were great. The boss fights were great. But the total of the points added all together and divided by 7 leaves you an average of 8.8 out of 10. So overall, yeah, I pretty much agree that it's about a 9 out of 10, 8.8 out of 10, kind of the same deal. But yeah, this is my opinion. If you would like to find me outside of YouTube, you can follow me on Twitch and on Twitter. Links will be in the description. Make sure you go subscribe to Curry. The link will also be in the description. But yeah, without further ado, I'll be seeing ya. Also, if you made it this far in the video, comment toaster because I love